So if you've been told there is one way to grip the golf club, a standard grip, you've been told a lie. That is not true. You can have any grip. You could have a weak, a neutral, or a strong grip. So what we're going to talk about in this video, guys, we're going to talk about exactly how to match up each one of those grips properly with your left wrist. This is absolutely vital, and you could actually have way bigger benefits to your golf swing than having a neutral grip. This is why most tour players do not have a neutral grip, because there is benefits in other ways. So we're going to get right into that, guys. I'm Jonathan Chown with JChownGolf. So let's get into this grip stuff and how we can make any grip work. So guys, let's start with a strong grip. So a strong grip, what is that? That is when we're looking down on our left hand, we are seeing 3 or more knuckles. So we're seeing 3 or more. So at the moment, I'm extreming it, I'm gonna do 4. So there's something we need to do with that grip to make it work. Now, a lot of tour players, again, do have a very strong grip. Probably the most popular one is Henrik Stenson, has a very strong grip. Now there's something we need to do with that. Now this is what's called wrist angles, and if we don't know wrist angles, we don't necessarily know what grip does you need to know your wrist angles. So if I've got a strong left hand grip, now if I have a neutral flat wrist angle, so this right here, a flat wrist angle, I'm going to hit that ball miles left. So we can see club face is very, very strong. It's pointing behind. Even if I'm going down to, shaft parallel to the ground with a neutral wrist angle here, so flat, club face is looking too much down to the ground. That is going to cause me more often than not to hook the golf ball. So that is not what I want to do. With a really strong left hand, I want to be cupping that wrist. Now this is a cool thing about, well, how different grips work. At setup, you're going to notice when we're set up to that golf ball, when we have a very strong grip, we already have a cup preset into our wrist. We already have this kind of, reverse C type of angle, where all we need to do is maintain that angle going through the golf swing with a strong grip. We can see club face is square already. So do we need a neutral grip to have a square club face? No, we just need to have the wrist angle that matches up with that grip. So a strong grip, we need a cupped left wrist. That's why cup left wrist isn't necessarily always bad. So you can see now me up to the top of the backswing, keeping that cupping in my left wrist, club face is nicely square. And then if I maintain that again coming down, think of a Matthew Fitzpatrick, for example, very strong left hand grip, cups it, keeps the cup coming down, Henrik Stenson again, then we can have a neutral club face. But again, how we can have a strong grip, and it can benefit us as well, because we are naturally, depending on the strength of the grip, going to have a stronger club face. It's going to aid rotation in your golf swing. We know with a stronger golf grip, a stronger club face, to be able to square that club face at impact, we need more body rotation, because body rotation opens, obviously, rotates your body, and it will lean that shaft forward. Obviously body rotation rotates the body, but it does lean the shaft forward as a byproduct, which opens up the club face. So neutralizes a strong club face. Think of Dustin Johnson with how strong his club face is, albeit he has a flexed left wrist. That's how he can rotate so hard. So you've really got to do that. And the first drill to do here, guys, is you've got to grab your glove. So this is the same drill, but it's going to be for each one of these grips. We're just going to do it slightly differently. So if we grab our glove here, so if I just put this on, ignore how battered it is, if you can see it from there. So what we're going to see, and we're going to see from the front on the head camera there that we've got, all I'm going to do for this one, I'm just going to put this tee, so we need a tee and a glove, I'm going to put it in the underside of my glove here. So this is to make sure that we're having that cupped left wrist, because if we don't, we're going to hit the ball more often than not left, unless we're Dustin Johnson and can rotate that hard. So I'm putting this tee in the underside of my glove. Now, what we can see from the head camera, and we'll show you as well, we can see that if I end up having too flat of a wrist and start or even flexing it with a strong grip, this tee is going to jab into the underside of my forearm. I want to create and keep a gap between the end of the tee and my forearm. That's giving me a cup in my left wrist. So if you guys have a strong grip but you don't match up with the wrist angle, easiest drill in the world to do to be able to fix it. So easy one, guys, just to do that. You're going to see how wet it is out here for me when I hit this ball doing this. So really strong grip, really need to get a cupping in there. There we go, splashed with water at the same time. So that's a strong grip, guys. Really get working on that if you have a strong grip. If you don't do it. So the next, before we even get to standard, we're going to say weak. What's a weak golf grip? So let's think of a Jordan Spieth or a Jon Rahm. That is with your left hand when you're looking down on it. So this is all about left hand, to be honest here, guys, is looking down and you're seeing 1 to 2 knuckles down there. So 1 to 2 knuckles, I'd say 1.5 at most. So just 1 knuckle. So when we're looking down at that 1 knuckle golf grip, again, we need to do something with our left hand, our left wrist, to be able to make that work. Let's say if we were doing it with our strong grip and we were doing our cupping. This is where most of you guys' slices come from, a weak grip and cupping your left wrist at the same time. Club face gets horrendously open there. It gets really, really open to where if I keep that through the golf swing, I'm just going to slice it. Where you could just make yourself have a strong grip to match up that wrist angle, but I would want to, for the benefits that a weak grip and the right wrist angle will have, I will want to do this a little bit more. I would want to, as I'm going back in my backswing, do the classic bowing of that left wrist. You can see as I'm bowing that left wrist, it's squaring off the club face to my back angle, and I'm getting at the top of the backswing and I'm having a square face. So that's ideally what I want to see. I'm looking very Jon Rahm-like at the moment here. So as I'm coming down now with that weak grip, you can see when I start to flex my wrist, the club pitch shallows behind me. So it really stays behind me, and that will allow me to rotate as well. This is why we see quite a lot of guys now with a weak grip out on tour, is because when they start flexing their lead wrist because of that weak grip, it allows that shaft to shallow behind them and it allows them to rotate. I myself do have a weak grip as well. I have 1.5 knuckles with my left hand, and I have this flexion in there, helps me shallow the shaft, something I've never struggled with. I've never had a steep shaft, it's always shallowed out. This is one of the main reasons. So if we go back to our one drill here, guys, super simple, this one again, exactly the same drill, but slightly different. If I can find a tee in my pocket, instead of putting the tee in the underside, we're now putting it on the front side. So this is to avoid cupping your left wrist. We don't want to be cupping the left wrist, because if we're cupping the left wrist with a weak grip, it's not going to work out. It's going to slice in a big hurry. So if we swing up to the top now and we want to create space just like before, just on the other way, we want to create space between the tee and the glove, or the tee and your forearm. And you can see at the top now, that's created a nice bow. So we need to keep that in there, swing through and hit with a nice wrist angle with that grip. Again, so far, we've done everything we needed to do to be able to match up this grip, and we've had more benefits than we would do with a neutral grip at the moment. So it's not the only way to grip a golf club with a standard traditional grip. So here we go, I'm just going to create a little bit of gap between tee and forearm. That one for me, and I'm trying to hit it a little bit less solid because it's really wet. Everything's bouncing out with the rain. I'm getting soaking over here. So really easy one there to do, guys. You just got to, if you have a weak grip, you have got to make sure that you are flexing that left wrist. You don't need to change that grip straight away. Flexing the lead wrist has a lot of benefits for you. All top players in the world come down their downswing, have a little bit of flexion in that wrist. So you've really got to make sure you do that. So the last one here, guys, and that is your normal standard grip that everyone thinks you should have anyway. So really with this normal standard grip, we can obviously have it in a way where it's gonna be very beneficial for us. By no means, if you've got a standard grip, should you change it? You just need to make sure you're optimizing it like any other grip. So 2.5 knuckles looking down. To make your standard grip work, you need a flat left wrist. You need it to be dead flat. So with a dead flat wrist there, that's how you get your square club face coming off the ball, if your takeaway is good. So then we're going to go up to the top of the backswing. If you're keeping that flat left wrist, you'll have a square club face. If at any point we start, cupping that wrist too much, club face is going to open. If we start bowing the wrist too much, club face is going to close. Now, why really a standard grip is preferable for most people is because it gives you a little bit of wiggle room. So by that I mean it gives you a little bit of wiggle room in the wrist angles. We can be slightly cupped or slightly flexed and it not hurt us too much. I'd say more so in the slightly flexed. If I'm seeing a standard grip, I either want to see it flat, the left wrist, or slightly bowed. So flat left wrist, like we just said, will screw out the club face. But for example, even if I'm slightly bowed, it is going to close off the club face a little bit more, but it's going to incentivize more rotation coming down in the downswing. We see a lot of tour players that do have a standard grip. They all bow their wrist a little bit coming in the downswing because one, like we said before, it shallows the shaft and it closes the club face a little bit more, and those two together incentivize rotation to square up the club face. Just like that, and then that will be beneficial for sure. So if you do have a standard grip, you can still get on that drill with the glove. We've talked about it before, but on the weak grip portion. Let's show you anyway. So let's do that. So same thing, glove on. Now we need our tee, same thing. So glove on, tee on. Now we don't need to create a massive gap now between the tee. It's on the front side of your glove. We don't need to create the massive gap like with a strong, well, a weak grip. We need to just keep it so it's not jabbing into our left forearm, so we're not cupping the wrist. That's all we need to do there to be able to keep that wrist in a nice spot. We could almost be thinking, right, I don't want it to jab into my forearm at the top of my backswing with a standard grip, but I could feel it separating a little bit on the way down, which creates a little bit of shaft shallowing. Close the club face and incentivise rotation. So that's one as well that is really going to benefit you if you do have a standard grip. But as we can see there, guys, wrapping it up, we do not need a standard grip to play good golf. If we just watch PGA Tour or European Tour, we can see that there isn't one way to grip a golf club. They all grip it differently. Probably the top 5 players in the world all have a different grip, but they're doing things with their grip, with their wrist angles, and some other stuff we'll probably get into in another video that really helps them and manages to make it functional. Why most amateur golfers suffer if they don't have a standard grip is because they don't understand wrist angles. You can have a standard grip and have a really bad wrist angle, let's say a lot of cupping, you're going to suffer from it big time. So from this, guys, we've got to know if we have a strong grip we started off with, we've got to make sure we're cupping that left wrist. So strong grip, got to cup. And that's going to really, strong grip is going to incentivize rotation a little bit more because the club face is going to be a little bit stronger. So weak grip, we've got to be bowing the left wrist. So just like John Rahm, we've got to be bowing it. That's going to help with shallowing the shaft. And again, that's going to strengthen the club face just a little bit more. So then we can rotate through freely. Those two, shallowing and the closing club face, is going to make you rotate more. And the third one, neutral grip, we can obviously have it, but we need to make sure that the wrist angle is either flat or slightly bowed. If you're doing any of those there, guys, that's going to be the way to go. So if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please press that like button. There's really not much things out there, which, looking at YouTube, everything for golf videos is saying to have a standard grip. That's not true. So if you found this even different, please press that like button. If you want more golf instruction just like this, hit that subscribe button and hit the bell button as well to be notified every time I put out a video, guys. So if you have the knowledge of what you need to do with these different grips, you can be way more beneficial in your golf swing because of it. So make what you've got work, swing your swing is what they say, and then you'll be playing golf to your optimum level for your golf grip.